2019, the first full year of the Parity era, felt like a Warriors repeat until it didn't. The Toronto Raptors bulldozed through expectations and yanked the trophy right out of the Golden State Warriors dynasty's hand. Yeah, the Warriors were still the top dogs in the West with 57 wins, but the injuries hit them like falling piano keys in the final. Durant blew out everything but his parking pass. Klay tore up his knee mid-game 6, and DeMarcus Cousins looked like he was auditioning for a role in The Walking Dead. Toronto didn't care. Kawhi Leonard, fresh off a one-way ticket from San Antonio, absolutely owned the playoffs. The man ended an entire franchise's reign and barely cracked a smile. His final stat line was 28.5 points, 9.8 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 2 steals, and over 1 block per game. That Game 7 buzzer beater against Philly in the second round, unreal, bounced like 4 times. It was the first buzzer beater ever in a Game 7, ever. Meanwhile, Giannis took home Most Valuable Player with nearly 28 points, over 12 boards, and almost 6 assists a night. He dragged Milwaukee to 60 wins for the first time since Disco was still alive, but they still collapsed in the conference final, coughing up a 2-0 lead against the Raptors. The Bucks also got some arena feng shui done, kicking off their first year at Fiserv Forum. The regular season was a stats buffet. James Harden led the league in scoring with 36.1 points per game and set a win shares mark of 15.2. He also went full video game mode with a streak of 31 straight 30-point games, tying Wilt Chamberlain's ancient relic of a record. Not to be outdone, Russell Westbrook broke another Chamberlain record, rattling off 10 straight triple-doubles. He also led in assists at 10.7 a night, because of course he did. The standings weren't short on drama either. Milwaukee and Toronto topped the East, while Golden State, Denver, Portland, and Houston all brawled for seeding out West. The Warriors dropped the Clippers in 6 in the first round, then ran over Houston, and absolutely humiliated Portland with a sweep in the conference finals. Portland fans are still in therapy over that. Toronto handled Orlando, squeaked by Philly in 7, took out Milwaukee in 6, and then handed the Warriors a gentleman's finals L, 4-2. Luka showed up and immediately made Dallas relevant again, bagging Rookie of the Year with 21 points, nearly 8 rebounds, and 6 assists a game. The kid also became the first teenager to drop multiple triple-doubles, which is just disrespectful to adulthood. Vince Carter kept chugging along, passing Jerry West on the all-time scoring list, and Isaiah Thomas held firm as the league's shortest player, standing tall at 69 inches of confusion and unfiltered confidence. Joe Harris turned into a 3-point laser for Brooklyn, shooting 47.4% from deep, while Rudy Gobert shot nearly 67% from the floor and anchored the defense for Utah. Miles Turner led in blocks, and Paul George, who was somehow playing both ends of the floor like it was 2009, led in steals and made both the All-NBA and All-Defensive first teams. Let's not forget the trades. Kawhi Leonard was swapped for DeMar, which turned out to be a franchise cheat code for Toronto. Milwaukee brought in Nikola Mirotic, and Philadelphia added Tobias Harris to their ever-mutating lineup. Steph Curry hit enough threes to move past Kyle Korver for 4th all-time. Klay Thompson dropped 10 straight threes in one game, and James Harden had the audacity to miss 16 of 17 threes in another. Jusuf Nurkic had a 20-25-5 game, which sounds made up, but it really happened. Golden State still led the league in field goal percentage at the rim and free throws, because that's what happens when you stack all-stars like pancakes. They also teamed up with the Kings to make 41 threes in one game, then broke that with 43 in another against the Pelicans. Chicago quietly cleaned up the glass, finishing second in defensive rebounding rate, while Memphis ate a 61-point beatdown, landing 6th on the all-time blowout shame list. Toronto's title ended a brutal run of Golden State dominance and launched this new chaotic era of bounce. 12 of the top 16 teams in field goal percentage at the rim made the playoffs. That's balance. Parity hit the league like a storm, and it wasn't just hype. The Raptors' first title wasn't some miracle, it was earned. Kawhi's load-managed way to greatness worked, Nick Nurse looked like a genius, and the team chemistry was tight enough to strangle all the doubters. Also, goodbye Oracle Arena. The Warriors packed up and headed to the Chase Center after the season, but their rain didn't make the trip. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, 2020. This season didn't just flip the script. It burned it, rewrote it, and locked the old one in a bunker. Everything was cruising along until March, then boom, COVID showed up and turned the league into a sci-fi plot. The regular season slammed to a halt. Rudy Gobert's positive test stopped the show on March 11th, and just like that, basketball disappeared for 4.5 months. But then came the bubble. No fans, no travel, just 22 teams, trapped in Disney World like hoop-playing cast members in a dystopian cartoon. The games returned on July 30th with bubble seeding mayhem, and somehow it worked. The defense was intense, the shooting felt like open gym, and the whole thing ended with the Los Angeles Lakers tying the Boston Celtics at 17 championships. The Lakers stormed through the playoffs with a 12-3 record. Anthony Davis had 25 points and 10 rebounds a night in the finals, while LeBron James added another ring to his suitcase and grabbed Finals MVP with nearly 30 points, almost 12 rebounds, and 8 assists per game. That made him the only player ever to win Finals MVP with 3 different teams. I mean, come on. The Miami Heat ran the underdog story right into the finals. As a 5th seed, they bulldozed through the East, knocking out the Bucks and Celtics. Jimmy Butler turned into a full-time superhero, dragging Miami past Milwaukee in 5 games. Rookie Tyler Hero dropped 37 off the bench in Game 4 against Boston, and Miami punched their ticket to the big dance. But injuries hit hard. Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic were banged up, and the Lakers just had too much. Giannis ran away with both the most valuable player and defensive player of the year. He averaged nearly 30 points, over 13 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists per game, playing only 30 minutes a night. That's terrifying. But in the playoffs, the Heat figured him out and sent Milwaukee packing early, while Giannis missed games 4 and 5 with a sprained ankle. James Harden still didn't care about subtlety. He averaged 34 points per game, led the league in win shares again, and scored 60 points in just 3 quarters against Atlanta. Meanwhile, LeBron casually led the league in assists for the first time in his career at age 35, hitting double digits per game. And then there was Luka, 17 triple-doubles, youngest player ever with a 30-point triple-double, and he made first-team All-NBA. The kid basically walked out of a video game. The Clippers had all the hype and none of the delivery. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George got bounced by the Denver Nuggets, who pulled off back-to-back 3-1 comebacks, first against Utah, then against Los Angeles. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray ran wild, and Murray averaged nearly 32 points against Utah, including 2 50-point games. Denver's run ended in the conference finals, but not before reminding everyone that seeding means nothing when there's no crowd yelling. Speaking of surprise, Phoenix went 8-0 in the bubble. Didn't make the playoffs, but Devin Booker treated every game like an audition for a contract in Valhalla. Damian Lillard also decided to go full scorched earth, averaging nearly 38 points in seeding games and earning bubble MVP. He dropped 61 on the Warriors and made life miserable for the Blazers' opponents. Portland squeezed into the 8th seed, but ran into the Lakers and got flattened in 5. Rookie of the Year Morant lit up Memphis with almost 18 points and over 7 assists a game. The Grizzlies almost stole a playoff spot, but got edged out in the play-in by Portland. On the awards front, Montrezl Harrell snagged 6th man, Brandon Ingram grabbed Most Improved, and Nick Nurse somehow turned a post-Kawhi Toronto squad into a 53-win team, earning Coach of the Year. Vince Carter played in his 4th decade and finally called it after 22 seasons. He was honored all over the league and even won the Sportsmanship Award. On the opposite end of the age spectrum, Zion Williamson debuted, but injuries limited his minutes. Still, he looked like a freight train with a rocket engine during his brief bursts. The bubble's atmosphere was totally bizarre. No fans, virtual crowds, piped-in sound, and a broadcast production that honestly looked better than the real thing. The Bucks even boycotted a playoff game to protest the shooting of Jacob Blake, setting off a league-wide pause. Jerseys had social justice messages, and the floor itself read, "Black Lives Matter." It wasn't just about basketball anymore. And let's talk trades. The Lakers made the blockbuster of the year, snagging Anthony Davis from New Orleans for basically the Pelicans' future. Westbrook and Chris Paul traded places, while Paul George was traded to the Clippers, and Kawhi followed him as a free agent. Durant and Kyrie both joined Brooklyn, though Durant didn't play. Kemba Walker went to Boston, and Andre Iguodala landed in Miami at the deadline. Whiteside led the league in blocks, Mitchell Robinson made 74% of his shots, and Brad Wanamaker topped the league in free throw percentage. George Hill quietly hit 46% from 3 because somebody had to. LeBron passed Kobe on the scoring list the night before Bryant died in that tragic helicopter crash, an event that overshadowed everything. The All-Star game was reworked in his honor with the new Elam ending and a target score of 24 points in the 4th. Kawhi Leonard won MVP with 30 points and 7 rebounds. The Warriors? Disaster. No Curry, no Clay, and a 15-50 record. Just bad. Worst team in the league? Plain and simple. Toronto held strong without Kawhi, topping the league in clutch rating and steals. Houston, meanwhile, embraced chaos and played without a center after dumping Clint Capela. Milwaukee was the first to clinch a playoff spot and led the league in just about everything: scoring, defensive rating, and rebounding. Parity kept rolling. First the Raptors, now the Lakers. 2 champions in 2 years, and both earned it in wildly different ways. The bubble may have been weird, but it made the playing field as flat as it gets. No travel, no fans, just ball. 2021. This season crammed 72 games into a calendar that still felt like it was glitching, thanks to COVID. It started in December, limped through injuries, tossed in a brand new play-in tournament, and ended with Milwaukee finally dragging a title back to Wisconsin for the first time in 50 years. The Bucks powered through, with Giannis turning into a Greek superhero. His finals run was wild: 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. And that Game 6 closeout, 50 points, 14 boards, 5 blocks, and 17 of 19 from the free throw line. For someone who couldn't buy a free throw earlier in the playoffs, that performance was certified chaos. They had to survive a dogfight to get there. The Brooklyn series went 7, and it might have ended early if Kevin Durant had smaller feet. Durant's shot in Game 7 sent it to overtime. Instead of ending Milwaukee's run, he dropped 49 in Game 5 with 17 rebounds and 10 assists. Kyrie sprained his ankle, and James Harden had one functioning leg. The Nets were held together by duct tape. Out west, Phoenix blew past Denver and the Clippers, riding Chris Paul's leadership and Devin Booker's buckets. Paul finally reached his first finals, leading a Suns team that hadn't been to that stage since the Clinton administration. Booker put up over 28 points per game in the playoffs, while DeAndre Ayton quietly dominated the paint. The Suns jumped ahead, 2-0 in the finals, but Milwaukee took 4 straight to shut the door. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton made huge plays, and Giannis got his crowning moment with Finals MVP. Milwaukee also led the league in paint points and finished 3rd in defensive rating. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. Trae Young had Atlanta running through the East like it owed him money. The Hawks stunned the Knicks and then upset the Sixers, making the conference finals for the first time since 2015. Young dropped almost 29 and 10 in the playoffs, even after suffering a bone bruise. Joel Embiid played through a torn meniscus, but Ben Simmons decided passing up open dunks was a lifestyle. The play-in tournament added a new wrinkle. Teams seeded 7 through 10 had to fight for the final 2 playoff spots. The Lakers beat the Warriors in their game, thanks to a LeBron 3 while allegedly seeing triple. Golden State lost the second game to Memphis and missed the playoff, despite Steph Curry leading the league with 32 points a game. He also hit 96 threes in April alone and passed Reggie Miller for second all-time. Nikola Jokic won Most Valuable Player, becoming the first center to do it since Shaq. He averaged over 26 points, nearly 11 rebounds, and more than 8 assists. With Jamal Murray out, Jokic was Denver's offense. They made it to the second round before getting swept by the Suns. Russell Westbrook broke Oscar Robertson's career triple-double record with his 182nd, while also averaging a triple-double for the season: 22 points, 11 rebounds, and nearly 12 assists. Not bad for a Wizards team that scraped into the playoffs. LaMelo Ball took Rookie of the Year despite missing time. He averaged nearly 16, 6 and 6 for Charlotte, and made their games watchable. Julius Randle became the Knicks' first All-NBA pick since Carmelo Anthony and won Most Improved Player. He put up 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists a game, and somehow made New York basketball respectable again. Rudy Gobert grabbed another Defensive Player of the Year, Joe Harris led the league in three-point percentage, and Chris Paul was the best free throw shooter at over 93%. Jimmy Butler led in steals, Clint Capella in rebounds, and Rudy Gobert in blocks and field goal percentage. The Jazz led the league in wins with 52 and dropped 16 threes a game, but they fell apart against the Clippers. Even after Kawhi Leonard went down, Paul George finally shook the playoff P-jokes with strong performances, and Reggie Jackson reminded everyone he used to be good. Brooklyn had the best offense, highest scoring average, and set a record in effective field goal percentage. They just couldn't stay healthy. Houston, meanwhile, nosedived to the league's worst record at 17-55. Carmelo Anthony passed Elvin Hayes for 10th all-time in scoring, while Chris Paul passed Steve Nash in assists. Kevin Durant returned from Achilles surgery and still put up 26 a night. Damian Lillard dropped 55 in a playoff game with 12 threes, an NBA postseason record. And in typical fashion, Portland still lost. The All-Star game was one night only. Giannis went 16 for 16 and won MVP with 35 points. Team LeBron won again, because of course they did. COVID kept crowds small early, but by the playoffs, arenas were filling up again. Toronto spent the year in Tampa, which went about as well as you'd expect. The NBA also introduced the Kareem Social Justice Award. Carmelo won the first one, and players kept pushing social issues both on and off the court. The parity era didn't slow down. Raptors, Lakers, now Bucks. 3 champs in 3 years. 7 teams hit the conference finals across that span. It wasn't clean or easy, but it was wide open. 2022. This season finally brought back the full 82 games, full arenas, and full chaos. After 2 years of pandemic twists, things looked almost normal, just in time for the Golden State Warriors to climb back to the top and snatch their 4th title in 8 years. Steph Curry finally got his finals MVP, torching the Boston Celtics for over 31 points per game. He buried 29 threes in the finals, including a dagger in Game 4 that basically set the tone for the rest of the series. Boston had the best defense in the playoffs, but Curry made them look like they were chasing shadows. Golden State beat Boston 4-2 in the finals. Klay Thompson returned after 2 years off. Draymond Green caused general mayhem, and Jordan Poole added firepower. They took out the Nuggets, Grizzlies, and Mavericks along the way, finishing with 16 playoff wins and 0 need for a redemption arc. They were just back. Boston's run was a surprise. They were under 500 in late January, then turned into a juggernaut. Jason Tatum made All-NBA first team and averaged almost 27 points in the playoffs. Marcus Smart became the first guard in over 20 years to win Defensive Player of the Year, and the team locked up opponents all postseason until they ran into Curry. Nikola Jokic repeated as most valuable player, averaging 27 points, nearly 14 rebounds, and 8 assists. He became the first player in league history to rack up 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in a single season. Denver finished 6th, but they were down Jamal Murray and Michael Porter, so Jokic did everything except sell hot dogs during timeouts. Joel Embiid won the scoring title at 30.6 points per game, the first center to do it since Shaq. He had 13 40-point games and carried Philly, though they fell to Miami in the second round. James Harden led the league in assists again, despite being traded mid-season from Brooklyn. Phoenix looked unstoppable in the regular season, winning 64 games and leading in net rating and assists. Chris Paul passed Gary Payton in all-time assists. Devin Booker made first-team All-NBA, and they rolled into the playoffs. But then came Game 7 against Dallas, where Luka humiliated them on their home floor in a 123-90 meltdown. Luka had 27 at halftime, the same as the entire Suns team. Memphis exploded with 56 wins, a franchise record. Morant won Most Improved Player, dropped 52 in one game, and helped the Grizzlies lead the league in paint points, rebounds, and steals. Their roster was the second youngest in the league, but they played like they didn't care. The Heat grabbed the top seed in the East, beat Atlanta and Philly, then lost to Boston in 7. Jimmy Butler played through a knee injury, but still nearly dragged them to the finals. Kyle Lowry wasn't fully healthy either, and it showed. The play-in tournament stuck around, giving New Orleans and Atlanta a playoff shot. The Pelicans got in as a 10 seed and pushed the Suns to 6 games without Zion Williamson, who missed the entire season. Atlanta clawed their way past Cleveland and Charlotte to sneak into the 8th spot. LeBron James averaged over 30 points at age 37 and passed Kareem for the most combined regular season and playoff points. But the Lakers missed the playoffs completely. Westbrook never found his rhythm, Anthony Davis was injured again, and the whole thing collapsed, with 33 wins and no direction. The All-Star game was held in Cleveland. Team LeBron beat Team Durant again, and Steph Curry stole the show with 50 points and 16 threes, an All-Star game record. The league celebrated its 75th anniversary by honoring the 76 greatest players of all time. Yes, 76 because of a tie. Scotty Barnes won Rookie of the Year, helping Toronto reach 48 wins. Luke Kennard led the league in three-point percentage, while Jordan Poole led in free throw percentage. Jaren Jackson led in blocks, and Murray led in steals. Robert Williams led in dunks. It was that kind of stat year. Trae Young led the league in total points and assists, becoming the first to do that since Tiny Archibald in the 70s. DeMar dropped 8 straight 35-point games on over 50% shooting and passed Elgin Baylor on the scoring list. Klay Thompson finally returned from Achilles and ACL tears, and the Warriors picked up right where they left off years ago. Their defense ranked first, their chemistry was back, and Curry's shooting made the difference. 4 different champions in 4 years. Parity held strong. 2023. The season finally gave the Denver Nuggets what decades of waiting couldn't. a championship. With Nikola Jokic running the show like a 7-foot jazz musician, Denver bulldozed through the playoffs, knocked off the Miami Heat in 5, and took home their first ever title. Jokic didn't just dominate, he rewrote the finals blueprint. He averaged over 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. He broke Wilt Chamberlain's playoff triple-double record with 10 and became the first player to average 30, 10, and 7 in a finals. The guy was doing things normally reserved for video game sliders. Denver finished the regular season 53-29, the best in the West, and led the league in field goal percentage and assists. They beat Minnesota, Phoenix, the Lakers, and finally, Miami, going 16-4 with a 12-1 record at home. The Heat, they crawled in as an 8 seed through the play-in, lost the first game, then knocked out Milwaukee, New York, and Boston. Jimmy Butler lit up the first round, but the finals were a different beast. They still became just the second 8 seed ever to make the finals. The Celtics led the league in threes made per game and came within a game of history, nearly coming back from down 3-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Jason Tatum dropped 51 in Game 7 against Philadelphia, a new playoff Game 7 record. But in the next round, they collapsed at home in Game 7 against Miami. Joel Embiid finally got his Most Valuable Player award after leading the league with over 33 points a game. He added over 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and a sprinkle of clutch mid-range. He also dropped 52 points against Boston in April, just to make sure people remembered. James Harden quietly led the league in assists again and helped Philly win 54 games, but they blew a 3-2 lead to Boston in the second round. Harden vanished in Game 7, Embiid got swarmed, and Doc Rivers got fired. Again, Milwaukee had the league's best record and the second best defense, but fell apart fast. Giannis missed time in the first round, and Miami bounced them in 5 games. That led to Mike Budenholzer getting fired and the team hiring Adrian Griffin. Sacramento was a revelation. After 16 years of darkness, the Kings finally made the playoffs. They led the league in scoring and offensive rating and finished 3rd in the West. Fox won the first Clutch Player of the Year award. Sabonis led in rebounds, and the Light the Beam chant became an actual thing. Their reward? A brutal 7-game loss to the Warriors, complete with a Game 7 Steph Curry masterpiece. The Lakers limped into the playoffs as a 7 seed, but caught fire. They beat the Grizzlies and then the Warriors. LeBron James, at 38, broke the all-time scoring record in February, passing Kareem's mark of 38,388. He averaged over 28 points a game and dragged Los Angeles to the Western Conference Finals before Denver swept them. The Grizzlies had drama of their own. Jaren Jackson won Defensive Player of the Year, but Morant got suspended for waving a gun on social media, then got hurt in the playoffs. Memphis still won 51 games, but lost to the Lakers in 6. Sacramento wasn't the only surprise. The Knicks beat the Cavaliers in 5 and made the second round for the first time in 10 years. Cleveland, with Donovan Mitchell, finished 4th in the East, but looked unready for the moment. Jason Tatum led the league in total points. Luka had the first 60-20-10 game in history, and Damian Lillard scored 71 points in a game against Houston. Laurie broke out with over 25 points a game, winning Most Improved Player. Paolo Banchero averaged 20 and won Rookie of the Year. The All-Star game in Salt Lake City turned into a no-defense dunk fest. Jason Tatum dropped 55, the most ever in an All-Star game, and Team Giannis beat Team LeBron 184-175. Off the court, the Nets blew everything up. Kevin Durant got traded to Phoenix, Kyrie to Dallas, and Brooklyn got a pile of players and picks. Durant averaged 29, Kyrie averaged 27, and the Suns tried to squeeze it all together for a deep playoff run. But they lost to Denver, and Chris Paul got hurt again. The season ended with 5 different champions in 5 years and 9 different conference finals teams over that span. Parity wasn't a phase. It was the new normal. 2024. The NBA threw a brand new tournament into the middle of the season, crowned a 6th straight different champion, and watched the Boston Celtics rewrite the history books by winning their 18th title. That broke their tie with the Lakers and officially ended your grandpa's arguments about who's the greatest franchise. Boston dominated from start to finish. They went 64-18 in the regular season, led the league in offensive rating, and rolled through the playoffs. Jaylen Brown stepped up as finals MVP, while Jason Tatum quietly led the playoffs in total points and minutes. Their core, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, Holiday, and White, was relentless. They beat the Heat, Cavaliers, Pacers, and Mavericks with barely a hiccup. Dallas had a solid run themselves. Luka scored 33.9 per game in the regular season led the league, and dropped 73 on Atlanta in January, tying for the 4th most in NBA history. Kyrie helped steady the backcourt, and midseason trades for Gafford and Washington gave them much-needed balance. They took down the Clippers, Thunder, and Timberwolves to reach the finals, but got overwhelmed by Boston's defense and depth. Nikola Jokic won his 3rd MVP in 4 years. He averaged 26.4 points, 12.4 boards, and 9 assists, while dragging Denver to 57 wins. He led the league in win shares and finished with 26 triple-doubles, tops in the league. He's now had at least 10 in 7 straight seasons. Denver's repeat hopes died in Game 7 of the second round, when the Timberwolves came back from down 20 to steal the series. Minnesota had a breakout year with 56 wins and the top-rated defense. Rudy Gobert finally won another Defensive Player of the Year, and Naz Reid picked up 6-man honors. They swept the Suns in the first round and then stunned the defending champs, but Dallas cut them short in 5 in the conference final. Wemby showed up and immediately started doing alien things. He averaged over 21 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists, led the league in blocks with 3.6, and became the first rookie ever to make first-team All-Defense. He was the youngest player to notch a 2020 game and looked every bit the future face of the league. Joel Embiid only played 39 games, but still managed to drop 70 against the Spurs in January, a new franchise record. That same week, Giannis scored 64 without making a single three-pointer, because that's what he does. And LeBron James, he hit 40,000 career points in March and still averaged 25.7 at age 39. The league also rolled out the first ever in-season tournament, where all 30 teams played group stage games in November. The Lakers went undefeated and beat the Pacers in the final, with LeBron taking home tournament MVP. It didn't count towards standings, but it brought some real playoff vibes to December. Anthony Davis averaged nearly 28 in the tournament, and Las Vegas turned into NBA summer in the middle of winter. Elsewhere, Tyrese Halliburton led the league in assists with 10.9 per game and recorded back-to-back 20-assist games in December. Shea averaged over 30 again and led the league in steals. The Thunder were the youngest 1 seed ever with 57 wins. Chet Holmgren held his own alongside Shea, and Oklahoma City was top in steals and 3rd in point differential. The Knicks finished 2nd in the East, but injuries to Julius Randle, OG, and Mitchell Robinson wrecked their postseason. The Bucks also stumbled early, with Giannis sidelined in the first round and the Pacers knocking them out. Tyrese Maxey broke out, winning Most Improved Player, while Philadelphia made the playoffs through the play-in. And let's not forget the Pistons, who were so bad they made headlines just by losing. They tied their franchise worst record at 14-68 and set an NBA record with 28 straight losses in 1 season. That's not even tanking. That's just spiritual surrender. So that's the 24th season. Celtics back on top. Wemby on the rise. Jokic still cooking. And the Parity era, it's still very much alive. 6 champions in 6 years. 2025. Once again, a new NBA champion. The Oklahoma City Thunder. That's 7 years in a row without a repeat. The Parity era has done its job, and now it's continuing with a bang. Oklahoma City finished with the league's best record at 60-22, grabbing the Morris Podoloff Trophy. Shea didn't just lead the Thunder, he led the whole league in scoring, with 32.7 points per game. Trae Young handed out 11.6 assists per night. Sabonis yanked down 13.9 boards. Dyson Daniels swiped 3 steals a game, and Walker Kessler closed the paint with 2.4 blocks. And then there was the Emirates NBA Cup. The Bucks ran through the tournament undefeated, 7-0. They took down Oklahoma City in the final, 134-125, in the highest scoring final in Cup history. Giannis dominated with 28.5 points, 11 rebounds, and 5.5 assists per game. Defense was optional. Entertainment wasn't. The conference semifinals brought the fireworks. The Knicks came back from over 20 points down in back-to-back games against Boston and won the series in 6. That had never happened before. Indiana crushed Cleveland in 5, including a 41-point halftime lead in Game 4, tying the playoff record. Tyrese Halliburton's game winner in Game 2 put the Pacers up 2-0, and they never looked back. On the other side, Oklahoma City barely made it past Denver in 7. They dropped 87 first-half points in Game 2, a new playoff record. Aaron Gordon played hurt in Game 7. Minnesota took out Golden State in 5, even with Steph Curry dealing with a hamstring issue early on. But then when it all mattered, Oklahoma City took home the NBA championship. Shea won MVP, Finals MVP, and Conference Finals MVP. One of the best seasons ever. Injuries hit hard this year. Jason Tatum tore his Achilles in Game 4 versus the Knicks. Giannis missed time. Steph Curry went down and came back. Jalen Brunson played after hurting his ankle 100 times. The awards? Shea won MVP. Evan Mobley won Defense Player of the Year. Castle took Rookie of the Year. Sixth man went to Peyton Pritchard. Dyson Daniels got Most Improved. And Kenny Atkinson won Coach of the Year. This season was all gas, no brakes.